Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Starside Chat, the official podcast of Starside Cafe, which is a YouTube channel that we do. My name is Zach. My name's Aaron, and with me is Zach.
Hi, I'm Aaron. He's Zach. It's great to be here.
Zach, I am all out of sorts because we have so much to talk about today.
What a week it's been. It's been a crazy week already, and it's only like halfway through.
Yeah, but, it is only like Wednesday right now.
It's only Wednesday, and there's so much to talk about already, and it's only going to get more exciting here in the near future. So, I guess we should just jump right into it because I feel like this is going to be a long one.
All right, so this first thing you put on here, and I have not heard anything about it.
Yeah, so this was, I guess, maybe leaked a little bit early, but Microsoft is launching an Xbox All Access that comes with, like, financing for their console, one of their consoles. It's like a 2-year subscription plan thing. This is kind of like the cell phone plan of, like, gaming devices, and I honestly don't know why this hasn't been around already.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
It is a good idea. So it's sort of an all-inclusive service. You're going to get Xbox All Access, which is that service where you can basically play all of Microsoft's like first-party exclusive games every month or for free, along with, I guess there's probably some other ones that are not necessarily Microsoft first-party. I'm not sure exactly what the lineup looks like, but you get that. And you get also an Xbox One S console, and that's $22 a month, which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
The access to their games, basically. And I'm assuming that comes with Xbox Live. Yeah, it does. It comes with Xbox Live Gold. And then the other, like the higher tier option of this is $35 a month, and you'll get the Xbox One X instead of the One S, which is the like cheaper console. But what do you think of this? I think this is a really cool thing that they're doing, and I kind of wish Sony was doing something like this as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very similar. You're right to like a cell phone plan where you like get a crazily discounted device and then you're locked into like a payment plan. But I wonder how long you would need to do this in order for it to be a sound investment, like for a year.
Well, it says it's a 2-year thing.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, so there's no upfront cost, but then at the end of it, you get to keep the console. So you've essentially paid for it. So it's not like, if you decide to cancel, you need to turn it back in, I guess I don't know what would happen. You'd probably end up having to pay off the rest of the console if you tried to cancel like mid 2-year service or whatever. But I don't know. I think this is a really cool thing, and I'm very interested to see like what the industry does, like what the other players in the space do with these sorts of services.
Do you think next E3 will get like news about new consoles?
Actually, that's interesting because I remember during E3 this year, there was a lot of talk about how Microsoft is like preparing the next generation of consoles.
Yes, Scarlet.
And they were saying it was going to be like this subscription service type of a thing.
I thought it was going to be two things. It was going to be one that was like hardware intensive, and then one that was like a lot cheaper and was streaming only. Yeah, like a service. Yeah,
so I feel like this is them sort of laying the groundwork for whatever that's going to end up being.
Yeah,
which is very interesting.
Because I wonder if since it's a 2-year plan, I wonder if their consoles are going to be 2 years out.
Oh.
Because then you can upgrade to the next thing,
Yeah, so like every 2 years, they're like sending out an upgraded version of the console. Yeah, that would be a smart way of doing it, especially since like right now it's kind of awkward because you have like the Xbox One S, which is like the weakest of the like consoles right now. The PS4, like the base model PS4 is more powerful than that one. And then you have the PS4, which is not as powerful as the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. So you have these different like tiers of consoles basically. And like they're going to want to upgrade the hardware again here in a little while because that's how technology works. And so this would be an effective way of sort of growing the platform in terms of power.
Yeah.
Without necessarily needing to launch like a new set of hardware every like 5 years or whatever. They could do it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, they would iterate much quicker and you'd be tied into it basically.
Yeah, you'd be like ready to go for the next set of consoles. And I think wasn't there somebody who was like, we're going to see like console quality gaming happening on mobile? Well, what if this is like the games industry adapting to the mobile model? Because right now you pretty much get a new phone every 2 years.
Yeah, it's true. That would be crazy. I'm kind of into it. Like if I could just spend $22 a month to play whatever the new Halo is, like that's a little interesting to me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I wonder if they will end up eventually getting like tied into like the AT&Ts or Verizons of the world. And then you'll get like I think AT&T is partnered with like DirecTV. So maybe you'll get like some sort of TV subscription plan in there as well. I mean, I don't know. I know people aren't going to want that to happen, but it's a possibility.
Interesting. The future of games, maybe.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. It'll be interesting to see in the next couple of years how this evolves. So,
well, speaking of the futures of things, there was another Nintendo indie stream. It was like a summer indies stream is what they called it, 2018, where they announced they've been doing a lot of these. I feel like because I feel like a couple of weeks ago there was another Nintendo indie stream, and they just did this past week. And they announced a bunch of games coming to the Nintendo Switch soon, including they did a One More Thing, which was great. Into the Breach is available right now on Switch, what I think is a great idea. I love that game, and it's
very cool.
It would be super good to play like on a plane or just like somewhere where you have a ton of time. Like I have put so many hours into that game.
That game makes perfect sense for like a mobile platform. And yeah, like the game was huge earlier in the year when it first came out, and to have that now finally coming to the Switch is very cool.
The thing I'm super excited about also is Hyper Light Drifter, which is a game we've talked about. We did a video on it early on. Hyper Light Drifter is coming to Nintendo Switch on September 6th, and it's a special edition.
Yeah, so extra exclusive content.
Exclusive Switch content. I'm going to have to buy this again because I think there's like 2 or 3 new weapons, and there's a new mode called, called Tower Climb or like Mountain, Ascend the Mountain or something. It's probably some sort of survival mode where you have to like survive for as long as possible I'm not even really sure what it is. I want to know more, but
that would be cool.
This is something I'm definitely going to pick up on Switch, and I think everyone should pick it up on Switch. Both of these, really.
And this is another thing that makes perfect sense for the Switch, because not only would it be great to play on like a handheld device, but also there's co-op now. So you could just pass a Joy-Con to somebody, and you guys could just play together.
Yeah, that was a bummer so the first I played it was on PC, because it originally came out on PC, and it had local co-op, which was fine, like if someone used a controller and someone used the keyboard, but there was no online. And then it came out on PS4 and it was still only local, and this is also still only local, but you can take your console anywhere because it's a Switch. So
in a way, like the cooperative element to Hyper Light Drifter makes the most sense on the Switch. It
does. I'm very excited to play through this again. I bought it on PC and I bought it on PS4, so I've beaten it twice now. And I can't wait to play it on Switch.
It's coming out 2 days after the Forsaken DLC for Destiny, though. I'm just going to throw that out there and let you sit with it for a while.
One more thing that caught my eye. They announced a bunch of things, and we'll put it in the show notes. But Towerfall, have you heard of Towerfall?
I've heard of it. I've never played it. And I don't know anything about it.
I don't know if this is true, but I'm trying to remember. I think it was like an exclusive for that Ouya console that no one bought and was a train wreck. But it was so good, and eventually it got ported to other things. But it's like a really, really good couch co-op game, I'm told.
Is that the one? There was one that looked like an 8-bit Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it is similar to that. Like, yeah, it is similar, except there's not as much diversity in characters, I think. Everyone pretty much has the same weapon. You're just shooting arrows around, I think. And I think maybe some people have different traversal options. Like, I think it looked like someone had wings. I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert on this. But people were super excited about it. It was like something they talked about for a while on the stream, so...
Yeah, there were some other interesting little games in there as well. And nothing that stood out in particular to me, but it's worth looking this up just to see what else was there. Because some of these things did look pretty fun. I don't think they listed prices for any of them that I recall. So it'll be something to keep an eye on. The other interesting thing that was announced with this was the like indie tab on the Switch console itself, where you could kind of like keep up with what they're doing and what's coming out, and like news and info about stuff that's either out or about to come out, that sort of thing.
Something that's reminded me of, I didn't watch the E3 Nintendo because I think I was working and you watched it, and we talked about it briefly because we did videos on every one of them. But I guess they announced. Do you remember they announced Killer Queen Black for Switch? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I didn't either. And I went back and I scrubbed through the press conference, and they spent like literally, it was in a montage. They spent like 10 seconds talking about it. So both of us missed it. But Killer Queen Black is coming winter 2018 to Switch, which is crazy to me. Do you know about this game?
I don't.
Killer Queen, previous to this, was only an arcade game. It was an indie arcade game, which is like unheard of. But this indie company was like, we're going to make an arcade machine. And so they made a very limited quantity of them. But they show up at like events like SGQs and just like, or PAX, things where there are game rooms. And people love it, and they can't get enough of it, but it's very hard to get a hold of because it's a physical giant arcade game, and no one wants to buy an arcade game.
Right.
But now it's going to be available on Switch, or like this Black Edition, whatever that means. But yeah, winter 2018. So we should do a video on this because it's like there's a whole subculture behind this game, and I want to learn more about it. So maybe we'll do some research and put out a Killer Queen video.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd totally be into that. Because I also know nothing about it, but it sounds interesting to me.
It sounds crazy. Like, I've never played it, and I've never seen it in person, but I feel like I watched, maybe it was a Kickstarter, I don't remember, but I've seen some video, like VidDoc, about it. But yeah, super interesting. We'll take a look at that in the future. And then this wasn't part of the indie stream, but I assume it'll be on Switch. Today, hours ago, when we're recording this, the first gameplay for Spelunky 2 was released.
I didn't get a chance to watch this, but I know it's either you or your brother who's like super into Spelunky.
My brother loved Spelunky and would play it all the time. I'm not super into it. It's a roguelike, so you probably would not be as into it, but there's a huge following for it, and people are still... I mean, it's a little bit like Binding of Isaac, where the two roguelikes that are just like, everyone is constantly playing them, and they're just like very heavily lauded. And this one appears to take place on the moon, ? Or I'm not really sure, but there's a bunch of new characters, and the characters have interesting things about them, a bunch of new game mechanics, and there's all these like weird little like secrets and like interesting ways to play about the first one. Like there was like I feel like there was a thing with an eggplant where if you took the eggplant to a certain level, something would happen. I'm not really sure, but this one has co-op, which is also new to the game, and it looks really crazy. I assume this will be on Switch, but actually, you know what? This is on PlayStation's official YouTube channel, and it says only coming out, or the only console it talks about in the trailer is PlayStation, so I wonder if there's going to be some kind of timed exclusivity with this.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's something to note.
Yeah.
If other people can't actually play it.
I feel like Spelunky is on, the first Spelunky is on Switch, but I don't remember. But I mean, it's a great game and it's on everything. So I assume eventually this will be on everything. But yeah, if you like roguelikes, this is like one of the best ones. The first one was. So it's coming out in 2019 and the gameplay looks awesome. It seems like there's new weird fluid physics in this one and it takes place on the moon. So I'm sure that there will be more stuff forthcoming. I'm sure this will be like something big at E3 next year. But something to take a look at if you're super into Spelunky. We'll put it in the show notes, this new trailer. There's a lot of content in this trailer to go over.
Before we move on to the next thing, the Xbox Game Pass Plus console subscription thing kind of reminded me a little bit about the EA Origin Access Premier thing that also launched this summer. I actually did subscribe to that. And so I was able to download, I downloaded Battlefield 1. I've been playing some of that recently in like anticipation of Battlefield 5. But that's another one of those like streaming services basically where I think it's like $100 a year. I think you can pay, like do a monthly plan, but yeah, you basically get access to their like vault of games and there's a ton of stuff in there. Including, what is it, Ghost of a Tale? Is that the name of it? That game that...
the mouse one?
Yeah, the mouse one that you introduced me to.
Oh, I forgot I wanted to play that.
Yeah, well anyway, that's in there, so maybe I can just download it and we can do a video on it or something.
I would love that.
But yeah, these like subscription service things are really cool to me and an interesting way forward. I know like EA is not for everybody. A lot of people hate EA, but like, I mean, if you're going to play Battlefield and like Anthem,
you can't get around that they make good games though. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like you can hate EA and their business practices all you want, but like I'm going to play Anthem and I'm going to play Battlefield. So
Titanfall.
Well, and yeah, there's Titanfall. They do the Star Wars stuff, which people hate as well now, but, you know, maybe it'll be fine in the future. And I don't know. There's a ton of stuff that's in there that's worth playing. Like the Dead Space games and the Batman games are in there as well. And they're like vaults that you can go back and play. The Mass Effect and Dragon Age games are in there. Like, there's a ton of stuff that's worth playing that's in there as well. And, like, if you play 2 of those games in a year, like, the service is worth it, basically. So, not an ad, just info.
I'd be interested to see. Maybe we can do a little, like, 6 months later kind of a thing after you've had it for a while. And you can talk about how your likes and dislikes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the cool thing is that you also get like access to the most premium version of each of the games. So like when Anthem comes out, like whatever the like expensive like $80 to $100 like premium edition of that game, like I'll be able to like have all those extras, which is a nice little bonus.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there since we were also talking about another like subscription service type of a thing.
Zach, it's time for a recurring segment. Let's talk about Destiny again.
Yeah, so a lot's going on with Destiny. It's a very exciting time. There was the launch trailer for Forsaken, and this one's kind of a big one. It was a great trailer.
It's so good. The previous trailers have all had, like, it's just been quipping nonstop and just, like, stuff I do not care about. And this, like, the tone was so dark. Yeah. And there was such good music. There was such good interplay between Lance Reddick and the girl from Serenity, whose name I forget. But, like, Zavala and Ikora. Some great line. And the best line of all, the Guardian talked. Yeah.
So I sent you this trailer, and I was like, perhaps a voiced playable character. This is everything I want. And yeah, like he actually talks. It's not your ghost talking for you. Like, I think this is pretty key to what you've been talking about, where like the past trailers and past DLCs have been like them trying to add this like goofy sort of spunky personality to everyone. And so that you have these dumb sounding lines where they're just like quipping and trying to say something clever and funny, and it just falls super flat and everybody hates it. This is like the opposite of that. This is like intense action movie trailer, and instead of hearing that dumb, like I'm not hating on the voice actor. I forget his Nolan North, who voices your ghost, but
And Cade now.
And Cade, I don't know what's going on there, but like I'm not hating on him, but the voice is a little silly to me, and the lines that they feed him are pretty bad most of the time. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's not his voice popping in there, like I'm gonna go kill what's his face, and it's this deep sounding voice of your guardian, and not some ghost who's talking for you because you don't have a voice. It's so much better. I was going to do like this whole video on like why Destiny 3 needs to be a voice playable character. They need to stop doing this because it's the crux of their like storytelling problems is the fact that they don't have a voiced character and you're not making decisions. Like you don't have an active role in anything that happens. You're just sort of told to go places and do things.
Well, and it makes the main character, by default, your ghost, who is like a weak character who is afraid of everything.
Yeah, he's a dumb character. Like, why? And the thing is, like, presumably all the other characters have ghosts, but you never hear them talk. But
except for the Osiris's ghost.
Yeah. But for some reason, your ghost does all the talking for you. Like it doesn't make any sense and it's just terrible. But
here's something else. In that trailer, there was a part where they go to talk to Spider, who is this fallen captain who is like in charge of like in the reef or whatever. And in the trailer, he's holding your ghost in his hands, which to me says that the ghost is not talking in that scene.
Yeah. I did wonder about that because it looked like your ghost wasn't with you in that scene where you're like, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to go get revenge for Cade or whatever. Like, I don't remember seeing the ghost there.
I would almost prefer like a more robotic, like less personality ghost,
Yeah.
Something we're going to talk about a little later is Cyberpunk. But just like the UI in that, and just like I like the aesthetic of just like a very robotic voice, but it's also intelligent, giving you information.
Yeah.
Having to like giving it emotion, just like, I mean, it's a character, but also just like, I don't know. I want my character to be my character. I think you're right.
You want the assistant guy from Iron Man, not
Jarvis,
not C-3PO.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is right now. Basically, C-3PO is the star of Destiny 2.
Yeah. He's not supposed to be,
That's a very apt
he is.
comparison. But anyway, the trailer was great. They dropped the 2.0 update this Tuesday, and we've played a little bit about that. We're going to have a video about that where we're talking more about it. Also, they were just like, guess what? If you don't have Destiny 2, it's free in September. It's the free game this September on PlayStation Premium.
Perfect timing.
So you can get that, and then you can buy the DLC, which I think is just like $40 if you don't get the annual pass. But
do we want to go into the 2.0 update, or are we going to save that?
Well, let's talk about it, because like we don't have to get into the specifics of like how every exotic has changed, but the main thing that's different, they changed the director around, so it's like it is a lot cleaner of a look.
Yeah,
and the director is like, for those who don't play Destiny, the director is like, when you go to look at where you're going to go, like you can select planets and whatnot. It also, in Destiny 2, like vanilla, it had all your like quests as well. Like you could hold a shoulder button or like a trigger and like all of your active quests would pop up. And that is happening a little bit right now, but it's more just like everything is a little bit more mysterious. And they're going back to the like mystery kind of thing where there's just symbols. It's not all written out for you. Another big thing they're doing is Xur, who is the guy that comes every weekend, is no longer on the map anymore. You have to go find him, which I think is also really smart. And it's also not tied to the flashpoint anymore.
I think that's a thing people wanted. I think that was the way it was in Destiny 1, right? Like there was a reason why all the YouTubers that are like YouTubing specifically about Destiny, there's a reason why all of them put out a Xur video every single week, because people wanted to know, first off, where was he, but also what did he have and what should we spend our shards on or whatever.
I mean, it's counterintuitive, but like taking features out like that, like taking the ability to know exactly where he is a benefit. Like so many times, I could tell you every part of every map from Destiny 1 because you always drop in the exact same place and there was no map. So you had to, like, people of old, you had to just know landmarks. There was no Google Maps.
Yeah.
And like there were specific quests, especially when like the Wolves one. What was the Wolf DLC that came out in spring?
Oh yeah, House of Wolves.
House of Wolves. Yeah, and that one it would say specific things on your quests, like go to this area of Earth or like go to this area in Mars and wait for something to happen. And so I had to look up. So I learned just like every area's name and like the fastest way to get there, shortcuts and things like that. The thing about Destiny 2
that's why
is
the YouTubers like really like, I don't know, they made a living off of Destiny 1 because of all that.
And the mystery was great. Like discovering it by myself was great, or like going and doing the research by myself was great. But in Destiny 2, like having waypoints is a great quality of life improvement, but also like I could not tell you half of the map of the EDZ or like
that's true.
Anything about Titan, things like that. Like I follow waypoints and I like look at the map and I know when things are happening.
But they also didn't, like in Destiny 2, there's not really a reason to explore any of those places. But in Destiny 1, like you legitimately needed to go to those places fairly regularly to like, you know, harvest resources or do like public events and complete bounties, things like that. Like, there's not really an incentive, or there wasn't. I think there's more of that now than there was before, but yeah, there wasn't a reason to do any of that. The
other big thing they're changing is weapon slots.
So this confused me a little bit, just because you're supposed to be able to, their big point was like, oh, you could use a shotgun in all 3 weapon slots if you wanted to. And then I got in there and I was like, all right, I'm going to see if you can. And granted, I didn't go through my entire vault to like pull out all my shotguns to see if this was possible. But the one shotgun, like my favorite shotgun, the one that I usually keep on me, is Hawthorne's like field forged shotgun. And that one was only available in my kinetic slot. And so I'm not sure, but you had one that was in your special slot.
Yes. I'm not, like, glancing at them, it's not clear to me how you can tell. I mean, other than that it is in that slot.
Yeah.
It's basically when you hold the trigger now and it tells you all the facts about the gun, just like when it's in your inventory, it'll show you what kind of ammo it takes as its main attribute now.
Yeah, that's the main way to know which slot it's going to end up in, I think.
But, like, you can put... I think that green ammo can be in either primary or secondary, and only purple can be in heavy. I'm not really sure. We need to do more research about this. But yeah, I had a shotgun that had green ammo that I used in my secondary slot, and I was using a hand cannon in my primary, and it was great. I was running around. I never used heavy. Like, there's no reason to not just have a rocket, basically, at all times, or like an exotic, crazy... Actually, I played for literally like 20 minutes, and I got a drop of that, the Colony grenade launcher, that exotic. So I was playing with that, but yeah, just like I can't remember ever seeing somebody use snipers in multiplayer or like PvP, just because like that's kind of a waste of heavy ammo, you know?
Why would you use one of those over like I don't know, a shotgun, a fusion rifle, or a rocket launcher?
Yeah, giant AoE or just like a one shot. Yeah. So like even watching on Twitch, there's tons of people using snipers and shotguns and just a whole bunch of different weapons. I saw there was a post on the Destiny subreddit where it was like, hey, the new meta is terrible. And then I clicked on the post and it was like, I used to just be getting killed by a Graviton Lance, and now everything is killing me. It was like sarcastic, because like now like so many more things are viable in PvP, which is great.
That is great. It's nice to see, and I do think we're going to see like sniper rifles come back, and so yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm excited to actually. I haven't really gotten to play around with it much. Like I literally just jumped in to look at my my inventory screen and my vault to kind of see how some of that changed. But yeah, I'm excited to actually go play some PvP and play some like strikes or something, and just like maybe use some weapons I haven't used in forever because there wasn't really a need to use them.
But we're going to post a video and we'll talk about, they released a vidoc about what is to come, as well as like an infographic. So look out for that if you want to learn some more about Destiny. Maybe you've taken a break from it and you're thinking about hopping back in. We'll have a video on that later this week, so definitely take a look at that. But it's time for the main event, Zach.
The main event. Now, this was a surprise, and a very pleasant surprise, because during E3, there was this behind closed doors gameplay demo for Cyberpunk 2077 that everyone was just raving about, and everyone else that didn't get to be at E3 was just like, please release this. And it finally happened, just out of the blue.
Yeah, like, so Gamescom was last week, and they showed that demo again, but again, it was behind closed doors, and they were, like, only showing it to journalists. And then a couple of days ago, yesterday for us, there was, like, a Twitch stream where CD Projekt Red was just like, well, we're gonna talk about something on Twitch, what's it gonna be? And, I didn't know about it until after the fact, but yeah, it was, they live streamed this demo and then posted it everywhere, and man, oh man, Zach, what a demo it was.
It's like almost an hour. It's like 50 minutes, basically, of gameplay. And yeah, it looks amazing.
It's crazy. So, like, people have talked about this to no end, but we should go over it as well. So it starts out, and you're on a mission with your buddy, whose name is Jackie. And the premise of the mission is basically you are tracking down this person, and I guess you're sort of like a fixer, kind of street thug. You're playing as the female version of V, which I don't know that we've seen yet. But you find this person who is like not dead, but she's like unconscious in a bathtub, and her tracker was gone.
Well, we should say the bad guys are scavengers who kidnap people and harvest like implants out of them. And it's like this whole operation.
Yeah, and this is like a rich person. And in this world, rich people basically have the best insurance, where like if you get hurt, like armed militia in an ambulance come and like grab you and start fixing you.
Which is crazy. But yeah,
it's crazy and it's great. But you do that, you find the person, you reactivate her tracker, and then you get caught, or you like deliver her to the militia. And then it cuts to like the next day or like 3 days later or whatever. And it shows you can have one night stands in this game. Like there's such a diversity of character interactions, and it shows your room, and your room has like your wardrobe and like your gun room. It seems to me that you can like store things, like a thing that people love to do in Skyrim and places like that was you would buy your home and then you would put all your stuff there. And I wonder if you have limited inventory space where you can't just have every gun that you own with you. And I like the idea of having like a place that you can actually trick out, and like you have a gun room, you can put things like, oh, I'm not going to be dealing with like cybernetic, like super like heavily armored people, so I'll leave my heavily armored gun, like whatever, in my gun room, but I'm going to take this. And I have like, you showed her picking out her jacket, which had like perks on it as well, so you can like have stuff in your wardrobe. I really like the idea of having this customizable space that you live in and you gear up day to day.
Yeah, so I think I thought of it a little bit like a first-person GTA there for a while, but the Skyrim comparison is a good one because, yeah, you do like essentially have what it amounts to an apartment or a safe house or whatever, and it's this whole like gun room where there are just like slots for you to store all your weapons, and that is very like I play a lot of Skyrim, and one of the things I do is I always go back and like after a mission and I dump a bunch of stuff in the storage spots in the place, and then I travel light so that I can pick up a lot more stuff and then take it back to my place again. So that seems like what this is going to be like. And yeah, I am curious about like how much stuff you can hold at any one time.
Yeah, because like what if, they talk about how there's like such diversity in the way you accomplish tasks. Maybe you want to one day, like maybe someone comes to you and is like, I need you for a super secret stealth mission. Like it has to be a stealth mission. You can go to your house and trick out, you have like your stealth like weapons and your stealth clothing, or you want to go heavy, so you get like heavily. I mean, I like the ability. I mean, it's cool to have everything on you at all times, all like Fallout. But I don't know, maybe it'll be a more interesting. That's something we talked about with Red Dead Redemption 2, where it seemed like your inventory was like almost tied to your horse a little bit, or like the number of things you can carry, which I think is a really cool gameplay decision.
Yeah, they did. So this is an RPG, and you like can completely customize your character. And they did say that you can kind of like change your, not necessarily class, but like your...
It's a fluid class system.
Yeah, so you can sort of customize all of that on the fly. And I think part of that is going to be just like what stuff you have equipped. And so, yeah, you'll probably want to have like a silent setup that you can just like go back to your apartment and grab that stuff. And then you're like ready for that next mission. So
you go talk to this guy and he gives you this job. And then you go to your Ripper dock. And I feel like in other games, like other less detailed games, this would just be a kiosk you run up to and you like hold square or whatever button on your controller, and then you just have a menu. But this was a whole sequence where like you go into this guy's office and you have a conversation, and then he shows you the like everything you want to buy. And I don't know if this is skippable or if this happens every time. It would be cool if it happened every time. But she selects a new eye and a subdermal hand thing. Also, they use some slang that I really like. The guy, your like doctor, had like a shaky hand, and he said, I have like a shaky Ganic hand, which I think is short for organic, which is a cool way to say organic. But anyway, looking at it, I noticed there were some features on the thing she was buying. It said like the price, which everything is eddies, which is euro dollars, I think. So it had like however many euro dollars it was. And then it also had humanity cost. So there's some sort of humanity system where if you get too cybered out, something happens. I'm not really sure. But I thought that was cool and interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question, because they did say you could like access like military grade like implants and stuff like that obviously not everyone would have, but like people also react to you and like would probably notice stuff like that. Because they also talked about how like your jacket that you can sort of customize, and it sort of serves as your armor and gives you special stats and stuff. Like they talked about how as you're out and about, how you have your jacket, that kind of gives you street cred or whatever. So
yeah, there's a cred system.
Yeah, so people are going to notice stuff about you, and it'll affect the way people like interact with you and the way some of your missions go. And so definitely like some of those implants, especially some of the more rare or like military grade ones, those might have an effect over like your interactions with other people.
For sure. And like some of the mods, we'll talk about this one. There was a trajectory mod, which maybe is ocular. I'm not really sure. I don't think it's tied to a weapon, but basically it allows you to do crazy trick shots with guns. Like it had like it made a dotted line, basically an AR dotted line come out of your gun, so you could like shoot and ricochet bullets and hit people who are in cover, which was just like amazing to me.
Yeah, the weapons, like we'll get to it a little bit more later in the as you're going through what happens in the gameplay, the gameplay demo. But yeah, the weapons look just really, really cool.
Every weapon she picked up was just better than the last one. Like she gets a crazy tech shotgun. She gets like a smart gun that like
the bullets track enemies.
Yeah, it's like that gun from Fifth Element almost. And then she gets like a military grade like crazy gun. But yeah, the subdermal grip that she bought I thought was interesting, because it like you can see it in your hand, and it basically, the doctor's like, I don't know where I got this, but if you have this, it like lets you use this type of gun, because I guess like guns have biometric locks, and so like this grip lets you use I think that's probably how they stop you from picking up like any person you're fighting's weapon, is if you don't have the correct like subdermal grip, you can't use certain guns, which I think is a cool idea and a way to like if someone drops a really crazy awesome gun, you're like, oh man, I want that. But you won't be overpowered because you can't use it yet. But
yeah, but there would be reason to hang on to it if you get that
exactly.
upgrade. So yeah, it's very cool.
Mantis arms. Let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this seems like this was like late game upgrades. They said they at one point they were like, all right, let's just for the sake of like this demo, let's advance like our skills to like late game stuff. So you can see what some of that's like. And it was like crazy melee, but also like traversal stuff. Like you could, sort of almost like Spider-Man, you could sort of walk across the wall a little bit.
Yeah, you could anchor yourself to the wall.
Yeah, and so that way you can sort of stealth around a little bit where you can be up high and people won't notice you, and then you can like you could like hack into somebody and
okay, that's something I want to talk about.
Okay.
So they're doing all this crazy stuff, and then the narrator comes on and he's like, we've shown you a lot of stuff, and I want everyone should keep in mind that this is in progress. Everything you've seen, and especially the thing you're about to see, is a real work in progress. Keeping that in mind, let's take a look at this. And then they show her jacking into someone else's memories, and it was a really cool, weird-looking minigame that I couldn't really figure out.
Well, because earlier in the game, they show her, like, she has this like wire coming out of her hand that she can like, it's almost like a USB drive type of thing that she could like plug into this port that's like right behind the ear of somebody else. And that way she could like get a readout of like information on that person. And so, this is kind of like uses something like that, but like later in the game where she can use that to like hack into somebody.
And because she hacked into this person, she was able to hack into like the local area network, and that enabled her to like affect the building almost, and enabled her to do quick hacks later on. So I don't know, everything about this was cool, but I feel like because they stressed it so much, it's all very placeholder, and they're not really sure what they want to do with hacking yet. But the thing they had looked really cool. It was just like this crazy 3-dimensional grid, and I couldn't really figure out how she was navigating the UI of it, but
well, that's interesting.
Cool.
Like the UIs in this game, even like the subtitles on like NPCs around you is all sort of diegetic, where it's just sort of like when you're looking at a menu for the Ripper Doc, you're literally looking at a console that he has in front of you. You're not like pulling up a menu of some sort. So I thought that was really cool how they did all of that to make it just that much more immersive.
The city tech also, let's talk about that since you're talking about NPCs. Like walking around, there were so many NPCs, and they were all so unique. There was so much going on. I didn't really understand. It seemed like people had like titles above them every once in a while. Like you would walk past someone and it would say like citizen or things like that. So I'm not sure if that was part of the AR or like what that was, but yeah, there were so many different types of people and so many different things happening. It was crazy.
Yeah, so it takes place in some place called Night City in the Free State of North California. And yeah, like there was so many people. Like this was not like Skyrim levels of just like, well, there's a few NPCs walking around here. This was like a jam-packed like city. Yeah, dense population city with people all walking around. And the narrator was like, all of these people, like, they have a day-to-day. They have things that they're trying to get done. They're all, like, you know, there's a day-night cycle, so they're all busy doing things. So, and you can, like, interact with them, and, yeah, there's going to be, like, I'm assuming there's going to be, like, side missions and even things that are not necessarily even, like, side missions, but are just, like, things you can do with other NPCs you happen to meet.
Speaking of NPCs, let's talk about this. So, so you're doing all this stuff, you get this job, and you go talk to some people. You have to infiltrate and purchase a crazy robot from the Maelstrom gang, who are these people who, like, are super into cybernetics, more so than even the, like, regular people in this world who are already into cybernetics. And so their character designs are really interesting. None of them have eyes, basically. They've all replaced their eyes with, like, these crazy red sensors, almost look like spider eyes. And they all have just, like, really interesting augmentations. Yeah, and I thought the character design was excellent.
Yeah, it was very cool. One of them, like, he had his mouth there, but, like, from like the top of his mouth up to like his forehead was basically missing and had been replaced with all like cybernetic devices that I'm assuming allowed him to see and take in other, other types of senses. So.
And it wasn't just, like, your abilities aren't just tied to cybernetics. She also took this crazy inhaler at one point that allowed her to, like, slow down time. It was almost like that Bloody Eye from the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, where you just, like, you take it and then all of a sudden things are going slow and you're able to, like, dart around really fast and get behind people.
Yeah, this is like drugs, but it's like John Woo style, like, and the fact that there's kind of a cool movement system that goes along with that, where you can kind of like slide around and you can double jump and you can sort of jump off of walls. I feel like people are going to have put together like crazy videos at once this game comes out, where they're just like using the traversal system and that like drug that slows down time, basically.
Speaking of the traversal system, let's not forget to talk about this. There's full-on driving in this game.
Yeah, they said free exploration in cars, on bikes, on foot. Like, you have a car, like the main character's name is V, and so you have this sort of like super-powered sports car that we saw in the trailer, the E3 trailer.
Which is very cool.
It is very cool looking, and supposedly it runs on like some sort of fuel of the future or whatever that I forget the name of, but yeah, that looked very cool, but you can also, I guess, just jump, like, sort of GTA style, just sort of get in other cars and bikes or whatever and travel around the city. And I also will say, when it became nighttime, it did look very Blade Runner-y.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A ton of this was just like screaming Blade Runner.
Yeah, which I'm a huge fan of.
Me too. The whole aesthetic of this was great. And overall, I came away, like, I had very high expectations and they were met.
Well, there also seems to be like destructible environments a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Like when she's getting into gun battles with these enemies, like she'll shoot a little bit of the pillar and you'll see the pillar sort of break apart and there's like shooting through walls and stuff like that. And I'm assuming some of the guns like you can get are capable of doing like crazy things like that, where they can go through like more dense walls and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how it all is going to work, but yeah, I don't know. Like, we talk all the time about how the weapons in Doom are like crazy and cool, and like a big part of the fun of that game is just having this huge, crazy arsenal that you can play around with, and like knowing when to use what against what type of enemy, that sort of thing. I feel like this game is going to be a little bit like that, where you have all these really crazy, cool weapons that you're going to want to like play around with.
I'm so excited for it. Do you have any closing thoughts on it?
Also, they did say at the end of the mission that they're playing is that everything you saw in the trailer, like, because she makes some decisions along the way, like she chooses to use the more diplomatic approach because supposedly the people that she was up against in this mission were like out leveling her. So they chose to sort of try to talk their way through it rather than like fight their way through it. But supposedly you have all these options to like, instead of like taking the money from this rich person and using it to buy this like spider droid thing that you were talking about from that gang, the Maelstrom gang, like you could have kept the money, or you could have done like all these other stuff. And they were like, each of these decisions and like the routes you take towards like solving the quests, like they'll have consequences and they'll affect the way things play out elsewhere in the game. And like, it seemed like there was so much potential for like different branching potential like gameplay just from this one quest. And that was only one of the quests in the game. There's gotta be, I don't know how many more, but it just seems like the type of game that you're going to be able to play over and over again and make tons of different decisions the entire way. Very exciting stuff. Extremely exciting. And I can't wait to see more of it. They didn't really say, like, it doesn't say when the release date is or when they expect to be able to show us more, but this was amazing. Well, should we talk about what we've been playing / watching? So basically, the only thing I've really been playing this week is I've dipped my toes back into Overwatch for the summer event. Like they have that the Lucio Ball event going on. But the reason why it's interesting now is because until September 10th, you can get some new skins for Diva there that are like tied to the animation that they just released.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I don't think I've seen it yet, but it's supposed to be like Nano Cola or something like that, which is supposed to be like the Overwatch universe's version of Mountain Dew or whatever. And so yeah, it's like this special skin, and there's like sprays and stuff that you can get as well. And so yeah, you can go earn that right now. I think I earned it yesterday while I was playing some Overwatch. But yeah, I like jumping back in during the seasonal events, and I always got to jump in August because Lucio Ball is just so much fun. But that's all I've been playing. What about you?
I'm gonna probably check out a little bit of Destiny this week in preparation for Forsaken. But other than that, I haven't really been playing or watching anything. I've been busy with school, as you have been.
Yeah, I think I'll also jump in. Like, obviously, we want to do some more Destiny 2 content leading up to the Forsaken release. So it'll be good to get in and figure out what all is new and stuff like that. So it's very soon. What, next week?
Yeah, less than a week away. We're 6 days away.
That is crazy. It seems to have snuck up on me. I wasn't ready for it, but...
Yeah, it is happening. It seems like it's happening earlier than it should, but...
I think September is getting here earlier than it should. Like, it's not time for September yet, right? It's still summer.
We'll see.
Actually, I'm ready for fall weather. I would love to have sweatshirt weather be here.
All right, well, thank you for joining us for this special Cyberpunk edition of our podcast. And join us next week, and we'll probably be able to talk about Forsaken a little bit next week. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast devoted to Forsaken.
We should definitely do that, and maybe even some videos and stuff like that. I would love to do a bunch on it, so
yeah,
be on the lookout for that. Follow us on Twitter, and send us an email at starsidecafe@gmail.com. If you have any questions or thoughts about any of the stuff we talked about, you can also comment on our YouTube page. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about whatever you send us in the next podcast.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.